everyone, Rurikhan here, and today I'm bringing you a new episode of New Game Plus. Today's video game is going to be Aliens Colonial Marines. Now, usually I tend to only do games that I've really enjoyed in New Game Plus, but recently I've also been trying to do a couple of first impressions and stuff like that to kind of give you guys an idea on games that I've recently purchased. You know, just to add some more variety to the channel and whatnot, and this is the case. This is more of a first impressions, despite the fact that this first impressions has been done after I finished the game. So I guess it's a little bit more than first impressions on this episode of New Game Plus. But let's get started talking about it, because I mean, I've mentioned this game previously on one of my videos. I think it was actually during a Dark Souls live stream, and people have been asking me, what do I think about it? Are all the bad reviews really true? Is the game really that terrible? What's the whole deal? So that's why I'm doing this particular video in post-commentary, because there's a couple of things that I want to touch on. So the background footage you guys are watching is just background footage for the purpose of having background footage. And let's talk about the game a little bit. So for starters, is the game as bad as a lot of the reviewers are making it out to be? In my opinion, no. It's not that bad. The problem with the game is that it's quite simply average, and it's been ridiculously overhyped. Like, people have been talking about this game, like, just completely going ballistic and berserk over it. Like, this game is like the second coming of Christ. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be this amazing cooperative experience. It's gonna have all this stuff and all these things. And quite honestly, I haven't even paid that much attention to the game. In fact, I didn't even plan on purchasing it. What happened was I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I thought that he was going to buy it for his PlayStation 3. And it's not really a game that I wanted to buy on the PlayStation 3, particularly because I had a really good deal at the time in Green Man Gaming for it. Like, it was 30% below price or something like that. So I told my friend, if you're going to buy it on the PlayStation 3, I'm probably not going to get it. But if you were to buy it on the PC, then I would get it. Then he tells me, okay, then I'm gonna get it on the PC, and I'm like, oh, okay. In that case, we both kind of got it, and we both played through it in 2 sessions, pretty much. And it wasn't even like hardcore sessions. I mean, it was one session was like 3 hours, the other session was maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. So the campaign is definitely not big. So what are the problems in the game? Why are people being so negative about it? Well, let's just start taking things by topics. Like I said at the start, the main reason, in my opinion, is because the game has been overhyped. A lot of people were were expecting this game to deliver some really amazing experience, and it really didn't. It was just average. That's all it was. It was average, and on top of being average, it was very glitchy. Now, on the version that I played, which was the PC version, the graphics weren't amazing. They were definitely not groundbreaking, but they weren't terrible either. Like, I've seen worse. I mean, the textures were pretty decent. Again, decent is the word. Decent, average, passable, not horrible, not amazing either. There were a couple of times where I noticed that some of the textures in the game were actually low resolution, like on some objects that would show up, which was weird, because, like, I mean, I don't get it. I guess the whole thing felt very rushed, and it needed a little bit more polish. Something that I also noticed is when I was hosting the game, my friend's character would have a little bit of jittery going on. Like, I noticed that when he was hosting, like, his character would move fluidly, like perfectly. To me, it was perfect. When I was hosting, his character would not move so well. For some reason, like, you would notice him warping just a little bit. Like, you know, that kind of stuff from multiplayer, from old multiplayer games. But it's just something that kind of annoyed me a little bit, as well as the animations on his character would sometimes be a little jittery as well. But I mean, it's passable. It's not amazing, it's not groundbreaking, it's passable. The sound in the game is probably the thing that would be its high note, because I think that the sounds will take you back and will take you on a trip through memory lane and make you remember the movie Aliens. So I think the sounds really was one of the high notes for me, because I mean, once you start hearing the pulse rifle, you kind of recognize the sound, and when you start hearing the sound from the motion sensor, it is kind of cool. Although I did miss one particular sound sprite from the Aliens. I mean, I can't really tell you guys how it sounded, but it's a sound that's been used pretty much in every single Aliens game that I've ever played. And on this one, it didn't show up, and I thought it was really weird. It's a really high-pitched sound that aliens made when they died, and for some reason on this one, I didn't hear that sound sprite, and it kind of ticked me off a little bit. So, as I was talking about the motion sensor, I guess I might as well talk about that, because the motion sensor was actually something I thought would be really, really cool, and I thought it was very poorly implemented, because, I mean, my main experience with the game was the campaign. I mean, I didn't really get this game to get into competitive multiplayer or anything like that. That was not my objective. My objective was just to play the campaign cooperatively. So the movement sensor was a little bit of a letdown, because my intention was like, look, dude, I'll just hang back, use the movement sensor. But I mean, using the movement sensor was made so, how should I put this? It was just made in a way that it was so... Damn it, I'm missing the word. I've been having a lot of that recently. I missed one specific word, but let's just say it didn't require any effort. It was made so effortless. Yeah, that's the word, probably. It was made so effortless that anyone can just check the motion sensor ridiculously easy. Like, it's almost like a character is just holding a rifle with both hands. All of a sudden, he pulls out a motion sensor out of his ass, and it's really easy to just pull up the motion sensor, see where stuff is coming from, put down the motion sensor. I wish they would have made some kind of, you know, some co-op mechanic out of it, because that could have been a really big deal when you're playing cooperatively with your friends. Sure, make it easy to use when you're in single player, but when you're in actual cooperative multiplayer, you should have one guy in your team just dedicated to holding down the motion sensor. And for that particular guy, let's say he could shoot a pistol while he's holding the motion sensor. Can't really shoot a rifle, but he can shoot a pistol, or maybe some kind of customized shot. Well, not a shotgun, because the shotgun has a ton of recoil, but, you know, maybe he could have like a special pistol or something like that, so that it's not just a bad thing that he's holding down the thing. But again, that would be really cool, because it would encourage more communication with your teammate. Like, look, we got contacts left, we got contacts right, you know, that would have been something cool. Then the other thing is, that motion sensor is pretty useless while you're doing the campaign. Like, sure, every now and then you will be able to locate aliens and whatnot, but I mean, the whole thing is, even if you don't have the motion sensor open with you, or the movement sensor, whatever the hell you want to call it, the thing that beeps, okay? The radar thing that beeps. Even if you don't have it on you, if neither of you is like watching at it, it still beeps whenever movement is around. So as soon as aliens get into your vicinity, that thing will beep regardless, and then you can go and check it out. So it's not like you're ever really going to be caught off guard, and most of the times you don't really have to look at it to locate aliens, because you can pretty much see them on the battlefield and just shoot them, and obviously you can't shoot and hold the motion sensor at the same time. So once you have the first contact, you will instantly switch to your rifle and never look at the thing again. That's pretty much what happened. And again, I played throughout the whole game, so I can safely say that this is pretty much the way it goes down through the whole campaign. There was one time where I actually used it to find an alien, because for some reason that alien either glitched or I don't know, but we weren't able to progress because there was an alien stuck somewhere, and I was able to find it using the motion sensor. That was the one time that thing was actually really useful. And again, I just think there was room for really cool mechanics, cooperative mechanics, for someone to be the guy who holds down the motion sensor. And if other people would join, someone could be the guy who gets to hold the smart gun. You know, that kind of stuff would have made it a lot more interesting. Instead, it just seems that the multiplayer was pretty much tacked on. Now, like I was telling you guys, the campaign is incredibly short, but then again, I haven't played a lot of FPSs all the way to the end. Although I have to say that my most recent FPS experience before this one has been a pretty long one. I mean, I've been playing Far Cry 3, as you guys know, and that's a pretty decent sized game considering all the side stuff that you get to do while you're playing it and whatnot. I mean, it's got a lot of content for a lot of it's got good value for the content that it has, you know. So I mean, if you put those two side by side, it just really shows you that Aliens Colonial Marines is definitely not as good as it should have been. A lot of the stuff that you will feel while you're playing through this short campaign is that there's a lot of potential there. Like, I even commented with a friend of mine and I told him, look, if this game was, if the game that I bought was the beta version, right? If this was the beta version and then they would improve this and actually release a product, it would probably have been a really good game. But this wasn't the beta version, this was the full product, so that pretty much took everything down the drain. Now, another thing is, you guys know that I like challenging gameplay, right? You guys know that. So, usually I'll try to go a little bit above normal when I'm playing shooter games. So that was no exception with Aliens, and I noticed, like, there's all these difficulty levels, and I also recognize that I'm not the best first-person shooter player, so obviously I don't want to lock myself into a difficulty that I'm not going to have fun playing. So I look at it and I'm like, okay, so we got normal, which I don't even remember the name. I think it's Soldier. Yeah, that's what they call normal difficulty. So you got Soldier, then you have Hardened, and after Hardened you have the Ultimate Badass. So I thought Ultimate Badass is probably going to be one of those experiences that you can't even get shot once, so I'm not going to go with that. So me and my friend, we played through the whole thing on Hardened, and it was way too easy. It's just ridiculously easy. Like, you will never run out of ammo. And on top of never running out of ammo, something happened that I thought was just plain ridiculous. Which is the fact that basically your character can carry all the weapons at once and switch between them, and they're all fully loaded. And this makes no sense to me whatsoever, because I mean, here's the thing: if that's what you're going to do, in that case you're going to, you're going to pull like a Quake and let me access all of my weapons from 1 through 0, and I can press any of those buttons and I can get the weapons that I want. But obviously this game was also released on consoles, so what they did was they give you this inventory thing that lets you pick a primary weapon, a secondary weapon, and a sidearm. But you can change them at any time. So I was like, so what's the point in me really picking these things? It's pointless. Just let me map them all to keys and I can switch between them without having to go through a cumbersome interface and trying to identify the weapon that I want to equip through its through the picture. Like, you have to actually look at pictures, and I'm not an expert in weapons, particularly alien weapons, because I'm not the biggest Aliens fans. Again, the main reason I bought this game is because I knew this friend of mine was really excited about it and I wanted to play the game with him. That's the only reason I bought the game. And I'm looking at all these weapons and I have like 3, 4, 5 different rifles, and I'm like, okay, I want my pulse rifle and I want to be able to pick Hudson's rifle. You actually get Hudson's rifle throughout the game. And because I like playing with rifles, you guys know that I like assault rifles, that kind of stuff, the automatic ones. And that's my weapon of preference. So I also want to have a shotgun, and then I'm like, okay, so I'm going to switch between the pulse rifle, and now I want to find Hudson's pulse rifle, and I would be like all mixed up trying to pick up rifles. And you're doing this in the middle of the action, like I'm shooting aliens and I'm like, oh, I'm out of ammo, but that's okay because I'm just going to switch over to this other rifle and it's going to be fine. You know, I mean, I never ran out of ammo. And if I did run out of ammo, I would just switch to a very similar weapon and keep shooting. And then eventually you would reach a point where you would just pick up more ammo because there's tons of ammo, tons of armor, tons of health pickups. There was never really a point where I felt, the pressure, like for instance that I felt in Dead Space 2, which I kind of feel that is something that they should have gone for. You need to feel the terror. You need to feel that, at least in my opinion, that's what I thought an Aliens game was supposed to be. You need to feel the pressure that you need to save your ammo. You can't just shoot the crap out of everything. You can't just go balls out shooting everything all the time. You need to conserve ammo. But in this game, I've never felt that. I was just like, oh, alien's coming over there, I'm going to shoot the crap out of it. It's like, what do you mean short controlled bursts? I don't need no short controlled bursts. I can spam everything and survive. It's not really a big deal. So on top of that, the aliens were not the most intelligent creatures. They were definitely not the killing machines that you see in the movie. I mean, a lot of the times they would just basically run towards you and try to get to you instead of using stealth and other things. They would just run up to you and die. Run up straight into the crosshairs of your pulse rifle and die. That's what happened through most of the encounters. I mean, the ones that did run up to you and die were the ones that spit acid. And that was also funny because there was a level where there were like 2 aliens that spit acid. And I remember this because I actually switched to the battle rifle, which is something that I would normally not use because I had a scope in that thing. So it kind of worked almost like a sniper rifle. So I put on the scope because I was seeing them at a distance. I aim for them, I start shooting them, they're invincible. Because apparently if they're a certain distance away from you, they're invincible, I thought. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to close in on them. When I get to them, they run away and they vanish from the scenery. And I'm like, so what was the point in that? Why did you allow me to see something that I couldn't kill? That just annoyed the crap out of me. Oh yeah, and you guys might think, well, if you couldn't kill it, it probably didn't show hit markers. You guys know the hit markers, the little crosses that show up when you actually hit something, like in Call of Duty, for instance. They have that on this game, which I think is a good thing because I like seeing the hit markers when I hit things so that I know that I'm actually hitting stuff. I know that it kind of breaks the realism a little bit, but it's something that I appreciate in the shooter, me personally. Maybe you guys don't feel that way, but the problem was I was shooting them, there were hit markers, and they would not die. So yeah, the aliens are pretty dumb. They don't really use a lot of strategy or stealth. Like every now and then, an alien will sneak up on you, or in the middle of a confusion in a shootout, an alien will manage to break through your lines and actually cause a little bit of problems. But for the most part, you will never really feel threatened by one of those situations unless you're a really bad player. And I am a really bad player in FPS, and I didn't feel threatened. So again, I don't think anyone is really going to have any problems on that. And then there's the fact that there's a mercenary faction that you will also fight throughout the story of the game. I'm not going to give you guys any spoilers, but there's a mercenary faction that you guys will fight throughout the game, and that faction is actually harder to kill than the aliens. Like, because they'll actually take cover, and they have these heavy dudes with smart guns and whatnot, and they will set up sentry turrets that will just tear the crap out of you. Like, those guys were actually harder than the aliens. Now note that they were harder than the aliens. That doesn't really make them that hard because, like I said, you don't really struggle for ammo. So whenever I would be up against one of their heavies, so to speak, all I do is just like, oh, okay, I'll just switch to my friggin' firebomb grenade things from my pulse rifle and just blow the crap out of you guys. It doesn't even matter. I just like spam that thing, and it was really not a big problem because like, oh, I'm sorry, did I run out of grenades in my rifle? It's okay, I'll just put on Hudson's rifle and shoot his grenades. There. It's not really a big deal. And I think there's even other rifles that have grenade launchers as well. And if that's not enough, you still have regular grenades. So, I mean, there was never any threat at any time. On the subject of how threatened you feel throughout the game, I feel that I really need to bring up the NPCs. So the NPCs that will accompany you throughout the mission, those NPCs are basically invulnerable. They most of the time will not even bother to, well, at least one of them in particular, will not even bother to take cover. Like, he just doesn't care. He's got a smart gun, so he's like, I'm a badass, I don't give a damn. He will tank aliens for you, or anything. Like, he will just tank anything you need. He will just go straight up ahead and be total John Rambo. And he'll never die, he's invincible. And a lot of the times he'll just get in your way. Like, I actually died 3 times because I had a clear line of shot to something. I threw a grenade, and the precise moment that I'm about to throw the grenade, The guy puts in front of me, the grenade explodes right in my face, and I die. He just keeps on going. He doesn't even care. Like, grenade explodes, I'm dead, the NPC keeps on going, and it's just like that. I just felt like the NPCs even, once again, even make you feel safer than you're really supposed to be in an Aliens game, because you know that if things go bad, you just really need to back up a little bit and let the NPC take care of problems. Hell, there was a situation where the NPC was like, "We need to shoot those barrels," and then he turns his smart gun towards the barrels. Instantly after he says this, he turns his smart gun towards the barrels, shoot the barrels, causes a massive explosion, and pretty much solves the whole situation. Like, this whole thing happened in like 5 seconds. I was like, so what did you say again? Because basically the NPC was like, "We need to shoot these barrels," points his gun at them and just shoots the crap out of it. Everything explodes, and I'm like, okay, I thought I was the hero here, but I guess not. I guess this guy must be the main character. So yeah, there's that problem. On top of that, there's also another issue, which is the fact that cooperative play really feels like it's been tacked on. It's not really something that seems that was thought from the ground up. It seems that the whole game was designed for one player, and then if you have more players with you, the only thing that happens is when there's a cutscene, they're gone. When there's no cutscene, they're back. That's it. So it's like fully just tacked on, shove it in there. We don't even care. Which is weird, because I believe that in the marketing, the whole point of the game was to be played cooperatively. And there was just so many points where the immersion in the game was completely broken for me because of situations like this. For instance, me and my buddy were trying to really, kind of play and kind of immerse ourselves in the game. So my buddy is like covering the front, I'm covering the rear. So I'm slowly backing up and making sure there's no aliens coming for us. All of a sudden he gets into a room with an NPC. The NPC closes the door behind him. I'm left on the outside, and the NPC starts welding the door shut, and I'm like, so what the hell? All of a sudden my screen goes gray, like when you get bad reception on a television. I disappear and reappear back inside the room, and I'm like, what? What the hell just happened there? But it got worse. There were a lot of other situations like this, and even worse. And then there's also the fact that when something happens, like there's a big cinematic, in-game cinematic moment, apparently you and your friend just both become the same character magically for a couple of seconds, because the whole thing revolves around single player, pretty much. Which was really disappointing. Like, I mean, look at what Far Cry 3 did. They keep the 4 characters like almost always present, at least during the cutscenes. Whereas in this game, none of that really happens. It's just really, really weird. Let me have a look here. What else did I want to talk about? The characters, yeah, the characters that show up in game, the NPCs, they are not at all memorable. In fact, obviously you guys will know that this being a game that includes Marines and whatnot, obviously some of these Marines will die throughout the story. But there was basically a point that and this was really far into the game, there was a point that one of the Marines died, and I didn't even notice it. Like, I knew that he was dead at the time, but his character was so not memorable that when we were playing, all of a sudden I was like, weren't we 4? Wasn't there like 4 of us? Where's this guy? And my friend's like, dude, he just died back there. Don't you remember? Now, oh, right, that happened. Okay, because again, it just goes to show that the characters are not memorable at all. The narrative doesn't really feel that memorable either. The story, I mean, I was really bummed out because I was expecting at least a really good story out of it, and I'm not gonna spoil, but I'm just gonna say that pretty much the ending is crap. Like, the ending is really, really bad. I was kind of enjoying the game up to a certain. I mean, I enjoyed the game. I can't lie. I can't say that I did not enjoy the game. I enjoyed the game because I'm a sucker for co-op. I really like playing co-op, so I was enjoying the game with a friend, so I enjoyed the game. but I saw so many flaws that I cannot recommend this game really to anyone, unless you're really hardcore Aliens fan. But man, I was enjoying the game, and then when we got to the ending, I was just like, really? This is what you did with the ending? This thing right here? It was almost like at the ending, the writers basically flip you off. It's pretty much, to me, that's what they did. They just, you just get to the end of the game, writers flip you off, game over, and you're like, wow, thanks. That's really amazing. Like that, there will be. I'm gonna say this. I just have to say it. There will be absolutely no closure, zero closure. Okay, if you're expecting closure on this game, just forget it. The game basically doesn't end. Maybe the ending will come through form of paid DLC, which is ridiculous, but okay. Also, we had a bug which was very, very disappointing. Like, you guys probably know that there's a couple of scenes where you're going to be using the power loader. You guys know that yellow thing that Ripley uses to fight off the alien queen. There will be several, not several, there were like 2 instances where that happened, I think, where you will use a power loader, and it's kind of cool. You see the power loader. If you're on the, it's actually cooler if you're on the outside, because when you're in the inside, you don't really get that feeling that you're in the power loader because you're in first person. You know, it's not as cool. But when you're on the outside, watching your friend play with the power loader, it's actually really cool. I thought it was cool. But the problem with it was we were in this boss fight, right, that involved the power loader. And my friend just starts going straight at the boss, just spamming him with attacks, which is actually what you're supposed to do. And through the use of logic, I mean, his gaming logic, he was going to ram the boss against the wall to prevent the boss from getting to me while I was covering him from other smaller aliens, which is pretty much, you know, when you're in the heat of the moment, it's a perfectly reasonable logic. Like, I'm going to try and keep the boss over here against this wall while you face off against these other dudes, and I'm going to beat the crap out of the boss. So I'm covering him, he's keeping the boss out of me. It's just flawless logic, right? Well, apparently the game didn't really predict for that, and what ended up happening was my friend basically pushed the boss so hard, he rammed him through the wall. And the boss was basically unable to return to battle, which left us in a gauntlet of aliens that wasn't going to end. Because we weren't going to be able to kill the boss because he wasn't there. And aliens just kept on spawning and spawning and spawning and spawning. Now note that we actually quit it out of that situation, because we could have kept on going forever if we wanted to, because our ammo wasn't even close to finishing. Like, we did it for like 5 minutes just thinking maybe the boss will come back, maybe this is the way it was supposed to be. And then we were just like, well, we can stay here for 2 hours, or we can restart and try to kill the boss again. Because we could literally just stay there for 2 hours. I mean, hell, we could hide and the NPCs would be killing the aliens for us. There's like 3-4 NPCs during that fight. It's just, that was very disappointing. The other thing you'll notice, and please note, I noticed this while I was playing with one person with me, okay? There was only me and him. We were struggling to find cover points because the game feels so tight, so to speak. I'm not exactly sure what the proper word is. That you're very constricted in space, okay? So we were struggling with ourselves and our allied NPCs to find cover. There was not enough room in the game for all of us to find cover, and this was with just 2 players. Bear in mind, you're supposed to be able to play this with 4 people. There were sections in that game that I don't even want to think what it would have been like to have 4 people there, because basically, once again, immersion breaking because there's no friendly fire. And if there was, there's no way that you can put friendly fire because you just kill each other off constantly. And the problem with that is, like, you just don't even care. You don't care about friendly fire at all. And to me, it kind of breaks the immersion a little bit, because I like when there's friendly fire. I like the fact that you're not supposed to shoot your teammates, because it brings more realism to the whole situation. And it's just, for us, it's like, if friendly fire was there, I would have killed my friend like 100 times, because there's no space to move. You know, there's just no space, and he would have killed me a bunch of times too. I mean, hell, I killed myself a whole bunch of times with grenades, because there's no space and the NPCs kept putting themselves in front of me, you know? But yeah, it's pretty constricted. I mean, once you get down to the planet, because I mean the game starts in space and then eventually you go down to LV-426, I believe that's the name of the planet. Once you get down to the planet, the game improves a lot, but still there's a lot of situations where there's just not enough room. Again, it just feels the whole game was designed for single player. Like, I was thinking if I was playing this in single player, I would have no problem finding cover. There's always cover for one person at least, but if you're playing it cooperatively, you're going to have problems finding cover, and you're going to notice also several issues with collision detection, because sometimes you will go through your NPCs, other times you'll collide against them. Like, yeah, there were situations where both of us were running to an elevator and we get stuck on each other trying to enter the elevator. That was just really annoying. A couple of hitbox issues there. My friend also told me that a lot of times he tried throwing grenades and the grenades would hit invisible walls on top of desks and bounce back. And this is a guy who plays shooters really good, okay? He's a good shooter player. He's not some random noob who's going to toss grenades like nobody's business. No, he was tossing these grenades and he could tell that there was room for the grenade to go by and it would just hit invisible walls, so yeah. Also, a lot of the times your NPCs will just blurt out lines completely out of context. Like, this happened to me several times. All of a sudden, one of the NPCs goes like, "Weapons hot, open fire!" And I'm looking and I'm like, to what? The walls? There's nothing here. I even pull out my motion detector like, I can't even sense any motion anywhere. What the hell are you talking about, dude? Then on top of that, the final mission was pretty lame. The final mission was very, very lame. It's just a mission that you can totally tell. It's just, look, this mission is just this, and that's it. Which is weird, because, I mean, all the other missions are like 40, 50 minutes, whatever. The final mission is like 5 minutes, something like that. As I already mentioned, the ending is a piece of crap. It really sucks. So, what is the final verdict on it? Because, I mean, I've pretty much just been saying mostly bad things about the game. It's like I told you guys. There's a lot of potential if this was a beta. As a final product, I really can't put my support behind this game. There's just... I don't regret purchasing it because, like I said, I played it with my friend who is a big Aliens nerd. He really likes all the Aliens lore and all that stuff, so he was telling me things that I didn't knew while we were going through the game, so that was kind of cool. And, I mean, again, it's just what really saved my experience in this game was the co-op, because I'm just a sucker for co-op. I really like playing co-op, playing games with my friends, and it had been a long time since I actually played through a full game with this particular friend of mine, and it was fun simply because of that. But like, for instance, there's supposed to be parts where a lot of people say that I mean, some of the reviews said there was a particular mission, and I will tell you right now, it's going to be mission number 5, which to me was just the best mission throughout the whole game, is mission number 5. In fact, probably the background footage you're going to be watching is most likely going to be from mission number 5. And the thing is, throughout that mission at the start, you're supposed to be really scared, and there's supposed to be this really tense environment and whatnot, and you're supposed to be really scared. And me and my friend, we were just laughing our asses off. I was even thinking about making just a comedy video about that particular section of the game. And again, it is the best section of the game, but we were just laughing. We were more amused than really scared. Again, there's just never any time in the game where you're really scared. It's just, the whole game is about killing aliens and being a badass. It's not really about feeling the pressure and the fear of the aliens coming to get you. It's just about, I'm a badass Marine, I'm gonna kill me some aliens, and that's pretty much it. So, all in all, this game's biggest problem, in my opinion, was the fact that it was ridiculously overhyped and it underdelivered. It's just an average game. It's not terrible, it's not amazing, it's average. So if you curb your expectations and you really like the Aliens universe, and more importantly, if you're playing cooperatively with a friend, you'll have fun, but just bear in mind that the game is not amazing, it's not groundbreaking, and it's definitely not all that it's been hyped up to be. Regarding the competitive multiplayer modes, I didn't really try a whole lot of them. I just tried a little bit of team deathmatch because, like I said, I didn't get this game for the competitive multiplayer modes, but from what I could see in Team Deathmatch, that even looked more like a beta than the campaign. I mean, honestly, the animations on the aliens are terrible. They're just really bad. Like, if you're crawling up a wall, like you can crawl up walls with the aliens. For starters, the mechanic is really, really glitchy. The walls, I don't know, the hitbox in the walls or something is just way too glitchy, and you can't properly navigate in the wall sometimes. As a matter of fact, a lot of times, whenever I would see players with aliens, what they would just do is they would just come straight at you. Like, nobody would really go in a lot into this wall climbing business. Again, I only played for a little bit, so I can't really say that much, but for the little bit I've played of it, I didn't see a whole lot of players doing, you know, ambushes and coming from the ceilings and stuff like that. I tried doing that, and then I figured out why people weren't really doing it. On top of that, I also managed to freeze myself and my targeted Marine a whole bunch of times with the Lurker, because like I would do the pouncing attack, and both of us would just be frozen in place until a Marine would show up and shoot me in the face, and I would die, and he would get up. And it's like, wow, really? So you go to all this trouble to pounce someone, and nothing really happens. So yeah, and the thing is, when you're crawling through the walls, this was the thing that I wanted to say. When you're crawling through the walls, suppose you're moving forward, right? So you're climbing up, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I want to move sideways. So you press D so that you go to the side. Like, the alien will instantly switch 90 degrees, you know? Like, there's no animation of him rotating around or something like that. There's no animation. He's just like, all of a sudden your alien's vertical, you press D, he's horizontal. Done. That's it. And I'm like, wow, really? This is the quality of animation that you're going to put in the game? It's pretty bad. Just saying. So again, like I said, if you're really hardcore into aliens and you have another friend of yours that's really hardcore into aliens, you guys might have a couple of fun hours with the game. But again, don't expect anything groundbreaking, because it's definitely not. It's just average across the board, and the ending sucks. And that's all I really got to say. So thank you very much for watching. As usual, leave me your feedback and comments in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next one.